Namaste children. I hope you all have enjoyed your holidays very much. Welcome back to our English class. Children, I know you all like stories very much. Particularly if the stories are about the aliens, then you would love them, right? So here we have a beautiful story of aliens, and the name of the story is The Collectors. See here children, you can find the picture of spacecrafts here, spaceships, and also you have the picture of alien here, right? So this story is in the form of a drama. Let us now understand who are there in this drama. What are the characters in this drama? We have 6 children in the drama. First one is Pete, then Carol, Tracy, Glenn, Wayne, Dawn. So these are the 6 children in the drama. And we have 3 teachers, Mr. Hunt, Miss Swan and Mrs. Jones. So these are the 3 teachers of these 6 children, and other 2 characters, they are Mrs. Brown and Mr. Brown. So now I'll read out the first scene for you. Now what is the scene? It is a lonely countryside. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ನಿರ್ಜನವಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರದೇಶ ಅದು. ಗುಡ್ಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಳ್ಳಿ ಸೈಡ್ ಇರುವಂತಹ ನಿರ್ಜನವಾದಂತಹ ಪ್ರದೇಶ. So now the children are out for an adventurous walk with teachers. It's raining hard. So now the children, they are out for an adventurous walk with their teachers, and at the situation it was raining very much. Okay, now let me read out the first scene for you. Miss Swan, isn't there somewhere we can shelter? Mr. Hunt, not until we get to the village. Mrs. Jones, how far is that? Mr. Hunt, nearly 3 miles. Dawn, 3 miles. Tracy, I'm soaked. Mrs. Swan, the children are getting wet. Mr. Hunt, I can't help that. We will just have to press on. Pete, can't we shelter over there, sir? Mr. Hunt, where? Pete, there, in that house. Mr. Hunt, that's not a house, surely. Hard to see in all the rain. Of course it is. Try wiping your glasses, told Mrs. Swan. Then Mr. Hunt continues, you're right. Lonely place to choose for a house. It certainly wasn't there when I was here walking last summer. Mrs. Jones, funny looking place. Miss Swan, are we just going to stand here in the downpour, gaping at it? Dawn, yes, can't we go up there and ask for shelter, sir? Mr. Hunt, we can't take all you crowd into a private house. You are dripping wet. Mrs. Jones, there is probably a shed or garage. We could shelter there. Mrs. Swan, we can at least ask. Wayne, yes sir, why not? Tracy, I'm freezing. Mr. Hunt, oh, all right. So now the children are on an adventurous walk with their teachers. Now the situation is, it is raining very hard, and already it was night time, it was dark. Okay, so they were walking and they were all very much wet. Here children, soaked means wet. Okay, what is the meaning of soaked? Soaked means wet, and downpour means heavy rainfall. Now what is the situation? They are all walking and it was raining very hard, and that is why Mrs. Swan, one of the teachers, she asks whether it would be possible for them to shelter somewhere there. But Mr. Hunt, who seems to be an experienced teacher there, you can Mrs. Swan asks Mr. Hunt, and whoever may be she asked, Mr. Hunt answers there. And also he says that it was not there. That house was not there when we had come. Okay, when he was walking in that place, when he was walking in that place during the previous summer. That means what? And also wipe your glasses. Okay, see here, wipe your glasses. So all these mean that Mr. Hunt was elder among them, right? So when Mrs. Swan asked, Mr. Hunt told that it is not possible. Then all the children they forced. Okay, so Tracy told that I'm soaking. Okay, Dawn also told that it was very what cold, and even you have Tracy. She told that I am freezing, and Pete was also asking. Okay, Pete showed Mr. Hunt a house there, and Mr. Hunt was not ready yet. Okay, so he felt that it was a lonely place to choose. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ನಿರ್ಜನ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆ ರೀತಿ ಹೋಗೋದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತು ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಹಂಟ್ಗೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ಅಂದರೆ, ವೆನ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಹಂಟ್ ವಿಸಿಟೆಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಸಮ್ಮರ್, that house was not there. Okay, then with that they were all dripping, no, they were all wet, no. So that is why to take shelter into some people, take shelter in the house of some people means who were who was what unknown to them. It is not such good manner. It was the thinking of Mr. Hunt, but everybody forced. That is why finally Mr. Hunt agreed to ask for the shelter in that house. So now what happens in the next scene? Let us see, children. Scene. Okay, what is the scene there? Inside the kitchen of the house, Mrs. Brown is standing with all the children and teachers. Mr. Brown comes in through the outer door. Now what is the situation? They have asked shelter in that house, and the owners of that house have accepted to give shelter for them for that night. Okay, now the scene is they are all standing in the kitchen of the house, and Mrs. Brown, she is standing there with the children and teachers. Mr. Brown comes into the house from the outer door. Now next what happens? Let us see. Yes, here Mr. Brown, I have hung up all the wet clothing in the porch. Mr. Hunt, I don't know why I am still holding this walking stick. Mr. Brown, give it to me. I'll put it outside. I will put it outside with the other things. Mr. Hunt, it's all right. I'll hang it on the back of this chair. Mrs. Brown, now that we have all introduced ourselves, why don't you children sit down? Mr. Brown, and the grown-ups can come through into the sitting room. Mrs. Brown, you children will be all right here, won't you? There isn't room enough there for everyone. Carol, yes, thanks. Glenn, oh yes. Pete, we will be fine. Mrs. Jones, thank you very much for taking us in like this. Mrs. Brown, our pleasure. Mr. Brown, there is a fresh pot of tea made in the other room. Would you like a cup? Miss Swan, I would love one. Mrs. Jones, so would I. Mrs. Brown, would you like to come through then? Come through then? Yes. Okay. So now what is happening? First we will know the meaning of the difficult word. Here we have a word called porch. Porch means what, children? It is a covered entrance. ಮನೆ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ covered entrance. ಮನೆ ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ವರಾಂಡ ಥರ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ, covered entrance. So when they have all introduced themselves, Mrs. Brown asked, children, when we all know each other now, can you sit here? Then Mr. Brown offered. So if it would be okay for the teachers, then they can go into the sitting room, and in that sitting room, as there is not enough place, they requested the children to be there in the kitchen. ಸೊ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ವೇರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ. ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಿಮಗೆ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ದೇನೆಯ ನಿಮ್ಮಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವಿರೋದು ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ದೇ accepted. Okay, so Mr. Brown offered tea to the teachers and happily, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ ಮಳೆಗಿಳೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬಿಸಿ ಬಿಸಿ ಚಹಾ ಆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಮಿಸ್ಸಸ್ ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮಿಸ್ಸಸ್ ಜೋನ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಲವ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಕಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೀ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೈ ಮಿಸ್ಸಸ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್ took them to the sitting room. Now the children are all alone in the kitchen. Now what happens? Let us see. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Brown and the three teachers go out. The children are silent for a moment or two, looking round. Then, Wayne, you can't hear any sound of that wind in here. Tracy, no, it's terribly quiet. Weird. Dawn, I can just hear their voices in the sitting room. Glenn, it's cold in here too. Wayne, maybe we feel cold because we are tired from all that walking. Tracy, and we did get wet. Glenn, no, not just that. It's cold. Pete, and empty. This kitchen reminds me of a hospital. Where do they wash up? Dawn, in the sink. Tracy, or the washing up machine. Pete, there is nothing like that. Carol, there is nothing standing about either. No plates, no pots and pans, things like that. Dawn, they will put away in cupboards. Okay, now the children are discussing among themselves. So few children felt that it was very cold there. They couldn't hear the sound of the wind which was blowing outside when they came into that. When at the time they were outside the house, right? So they couldn't hear the sound of that wind. They could hear only the voice of the teachers and the Browns. So that is why they felt that it was quite weird. Here children, weird means what? Strange. Okay, they felt quite weird. It was strange. And Pete told that place reminded him the hospital, and they were amazed to see that there were no washing machines. Okay, there was no washing machine, there was no washing sink there, and they did not find plate. Okay, they did not find plate, pots, pans, nothing was there in that kitchen. So that is why few children felt that it was strange there. Then what happened? Some of them suggested that when Carol told that, where do they keep the things? Then Don, okay, he tried to convince himself. He told that they might have kept the things in the cupboards. Then what happens? Let us see. So Wayne opens a cupboard near the back door. Wayne, this one is quite empty. Don, don't go poking about, Wayne. Pete opens the fridge door. Pete, there is nothing at all in the fridge, and the light is not on. It is not even working. Tracy, leave things alone, you two. It's cheeky to snoop. Besides, they might come in and catch you. Carol, I thought there was something a bit strange about Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Pete, Funny, you should say. Funny, you should say that. So did I. Glenn. Perhaps they are crooks. This is the hideout. Tracy. They would hardly have let us in if they were crooks, would they? Don. No, that's silly. Carol. Maybe we have ought to have gone on walking to the village. Don. We would have got drenched. Mrs. Brown comes back into the room. Okay, now they have felt something strange there in the house. No, many students, many children found it to be strange there, and that is why they started to check there. So what happened? This Wayne, he opened the cupboard and he found that it was empty. So Don complains, it is not good. Okay, don't go poking about. Here poking about means what, children? Poking means a look or search around a place. ಸೊ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ ನೋಡ್ಕೋತಿರೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋದು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಹವ್ಯಾಸ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಗೋ ಪೋಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಡಾನ್. ದೆನ್ Pete opened the fridge and he found that in the fridge there was nothing. The fridge was empty, it was not working, and even the light was not on. So Pete found it something weird there again. Then again Tracy, she told that leave things alone, you two. It's cheeky to snoop. See here, children. Cheeky means disrespect and snoop means poke around. ಸೊ ಯಾರದೋ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ವಸ್ತುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಫುಲ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಚೀಕಿ, ಅದು ಚಂದ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಟ್ರೇಸಿ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಟು Pete and Wayne, but still they found something different there. So Carol observed that Mr. and Mrs. Brums were also quite strange. Pete had also made the same observation. Then Glenn says that they were crooks. Okay, here crooks means what? The people who seem to be ಡಿಸಾನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್, ಯಾರೋ ಕಳ್ಳರ ಥರ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತು. ಯಾರಿಗೆ? ಗ್ಲೆನ್ಗೆ. ಹಿ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇಯರ್ ಹೈಡ್ ಔಟ್. ಅವರು ಕಳ್ಳರಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇದು ಅವರು ಅಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಜಾಗ ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಗ್ಲೆನ್ ಹೇಳ್ದ. ಅಗೇನ್ ಟ್ರೇಸಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು convince herself by saying that if they were crooks, would they have accepted us in this house like this ಅಂತ ಅವಳು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಲು. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕ್ರೂಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಕಳ್ಳರೇನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಶಿ ಟ್ರೈಡ್ ಟು ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸ್. ಭಯ ಆಗೋದನ್ನ ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಟ್ರೇಸಿ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ then what happened? Again this Carol, she felt that ಹೇಗಾದರೂ ನಾವು ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಬೆಟರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಲು ಅವಳು. ನಾವು ನಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಆ ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾನಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಹಿ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ವಿ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಡ್ರೆಂಚ್ಡ್. ನಾವು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಒದ್ದೆ ಆಗಿರೋದು, ಡ್ರೆಂಚ್ಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ವೆಟ್ ಥೊರೋಲಿ, ವೆಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ಲಿ, ನಾವು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಒದ್ದೆ ಆಗಿದ್ದು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾನಿಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತು. ದೆನ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಮಿಸ್ಸೆಸ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ರೂಮ್. ಮಿಸ್ಸೆಸ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್, ಆಲ್ ರೈಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್, ಗುಡ್. ಶಿ ನೋಟಿಸಸ್ ದ partly open cupboard door. Oh, were you looking for something in that cupboard? Don, it was Wayne. He was being nosy. Mrs. Brown, I see. She closes the door, looking at Wayne. Wayne, I didn't mean any harm. We just wondered where you put your plates and things. Mrs. Brown, I would rather you didn't touch anything. We have just moved in and haven't had time to sort things out. That's why this place looks rather deserted. Pete, we only wondered. Mrs. Brown, yes, well, would you all like a drink? Tracy, I would. Glenn, me too. Mrs. Brown, will orange juice be all right? Wayne, yes, please. Don, fine, thanks. The others nod. Mrs. Brown, good. And remember, please leave these cupboards alone. Wayne, we will. Pete, don't worry, Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown, She looks at the closed doors of a larger cupboard on the opposite wall. Do remember that I'll go and get those drinks. Yes. So now what happens when the children were discussing, Mrs. Brown came there. She observed that the door, okay, with the door of the cupboard which was opened by Wayne, it was partly closed. Okay, it was quite open. Mrs. Brown observed that and asked the children, did you search anything here? Then Pete, okay, this Don told that it was opened by Wayne. Don told that it was Wayne. He was being nosy. Okay, ಈ ವೇನ್ ಎಲ್ಲದರಲ್ಲೂ ತಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ ಡಾನ್. And this Wayne and Pete told, no, we were just wondered, means we didn't understand where do you keep your things, plates, pans, pots, okay, where do you wash the things. We were wondered about that, and that is why we were searching the things. We didn't mean to harm anything here. Okay, we didn't mean to harm the things here. They gave explanation. Then Mrs. Brown told that no, we came here only 3 months ago, and that is why we couldn't, okay, arrange the things here. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದು ಯಾರೋ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾರೋ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಮನೆ ರೀತಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ 3 ತಿಂಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರೋದು, ಮತ್ತು ನಾವಿನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸನ್ನು ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಓಕೆ, ಎಸ್, ಓಕೆ, ದೇ ಸೆಡ್. Then she asked them, would you like to have something to drink? Yes, children were very much eager to drink something because throughout the day they were walking, they were all tired, no? Then they said, yeah, if it is provided, then we would like that. Okay. Then Mrs. Brown asked them, will orange juice be okay? So children alla orange juice anna offer madlu. So all the children were happy. They nodded their head, means ತಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡಿಸಿ ಒಪ್ಪಿಗೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಸೊ ಮಿಸಸ್ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಲೀವ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಲೋನ್, ಲೀವ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲೋನ್, ಈ ಕಬರ್ಡು ಮತ್ತು ಈ ವಸ್ತುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಟ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಡ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಲು. ಮತ್ತು ಶಿ ವಾಂಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದ ಕಿಚನ್, I'll bring the juice. They were all in the kitchen, no? I'll just go to another room and I'll prepare juice for you, okay? Till then, wait here and do not touch anything. So she told. So while going to the other room, Mrs. Brown, she just observed the larger cupboard which was there in the upper stage. Okay, ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ larger cupboard ಅನ್ನು ಅವಳು ಹೀಗೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ಲು and she went. So next what happens, that we'll see in our next video class. Thank you very much.